Take a hit? No way, man. I don't do drugs. Oh, come on, man. If you're not an alien, you got nothing to worry about.
Maybe you can hum the theme song. Won't hold it against you if you get parts wrong. While the memory's not too strong, there's a piece of you from a time long gone. So while these fuzzy warm feelings remain, question we ask is still the same. Is it a treasure or just plain lame? Is this still good?
Hello, and welcome back to Is This Still Good? A podcast about taking off our nostalgia goggles, venturing into our attics to find our old childhood treasures, blowing off the dust, seeing how much they've rusted, slightly mixed metaphors. Do things rust in your attic?
I don't think I have an attic currently.
That's right. All you Californians didn't really have.
No, I had one
attics.
growing up. It was actually very scary because it had kind of low ceilings, and if you stepped wrong, you'd fall through the ceiling. And again, this building had been in my family for generations, so a lot of people had fallen through the ceilings and gotten stuck.
Is that like an attic, or is that like a above crawl space? What's the word I'm looking for? That just
An
sounds
attic.
like yeah. Well, it's just like other people have had basements that I wouldn't describe as basements because it's just like, no, you can crawl around and fix stuff. So my
Yeah.
house had two attics. So we had like a main attic, and then we had an air storage space over the garage. It sounds like you're talking about that.
So you
second
mean
one.
another floor?
Did you have a basement?
Yeah,
Not many basements in California.
that is also true, but I had one.
That's a Zodiac reference.
Yeah, it is. I was hoping you get there. That voice is Adam Boyer returning again.
Whoa, what's he doing here?
Oh, I'm scrolling Blue Sky while you guys are talking. What's up?
We don't have access to his video, so I can't confirm or deny that. But he's jumping the queue because I'm Sage, and that's Gavin.
That's me.
And Gavin
Yes.
brought a last-minute movie that probably should have been Adam bringing the movie, because Adam's also a big fan of it. And what's the movie?
We're here to talk about Breakfast Club of the Body Snatchers.
Are you gonna stick with that? I can let you do it again.
I don't know. We're here to talk about The Faculty, Robert Rodriguez's fantastic alien invasion horror movie.
I was gonna call it Screamvasion.
Screamvasion.
Yeah, Screamvasion.
I stick by this being Breakfast Club of the Body Snatchers.
Okay. Adam, jump in anytime.
Oh no, I'm just looking up the taglines for The Faculty.
Take me to your teacher.
Oh yeah, on December 25th, school's out forever.
Yeah, this was Christmas? This came out on Christmas?
Yeah, this was a Christmas Day release, December 25th.
Hell yeah.
I'll just get it out of the way at the top of the pod. I currently have a framed one sheet of this movie in like not even my part of the house. It's kind of like in the stairwell that goes upstairs where I don't normally stay. So just all of my roommates have to look at Josh Hartnett and Usher and Paget Brewster and the rest every morning when they walk downstairs.
Usher did make
Oh, that's great.
poster.
Show us on your working video.
Yeah. Well, okay. It's not in the room. It's hung up. I'm not moving. It's heavy. No, so my sister had an I Frankenstein poster that she got from like I don't know how. It was a signed poster for I Frankenstein that I've never seen that movie, the Aaron Eckhart movie where he's like hunky
right.
Frankenstein.
Yeah, it didn't look particularly exciting.
Yeah, but it was the best frame I've ever seen. It's an immaculate frame. So I took I Frankenstein out and I put The Faculty in. So I'm not moving that thing. It weighs like 50 pounds. It's hefty.
So would you say that you have Frankensteined this poster in some way?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
I actually have a signed poster that was signed by none other than Robert Rodriguez. It is currently tacked up onto my wall.
Wait, for which movie?
It's for
Wait, I
Planet
can guess.
Terror.
It's for
Oh.
Planet Terror. Oh no, I had a Planet Terror
It's for
poster
Planet
in
Terror.
my bedroom as a kid.
I still have it in my childhood bedroom. It's great. It's a lovely movie. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about The Faculty.
But we probably will.
And I will not be upset about it.
All right, so take us back to Christmas 1998, where we're all like various aged babies, essentially.
And definitely
I'm
old
not-
enough on my end to go see this movie in the theaters.
You saw this movie in a
No,
theater?
I didn't. I'm so bummed about
Okay.
it. This would have been
Is your-
such a fun experience in the theater.
9. Is this PG-13 or is this R? We're so good.
It's
at
an
our jobs.
R-rated movie. Well, I'm
Oh.
checking the actual box. Mine says R on the back.
Oh wait, no, it's R. I always forget that like it seems kind of vaguely
There-
PG-13, and then you get to like the
there's some
end, and then
nudity
it's just
towards the
nudity
end.
for like the whole last 20 minutes.
Yeah, this is a very, very soft R, which always annoys me because if you're going to make an R-rated movie, make an R-rated movie. Otherwise, you could just cut back on stuff and then everyone makes more money.
Yeah, fiscally irresponsible sage.
More money means everyone gets to make more of these. Like, if you're compromising very little to get to a PG-13, just do that. If you're compromising a lot, don't do it.
Sage, you're saying on the record that you wanted Harvey Weinstein to make even more money on this movie. You just really wanted Harvey to rake in the dough.
I think Harvey had him.
Okay, we're
We'll
just
cut
gonna
that.
leave that in. Sure.
Ooh,
I am surprised this was a Christmas
Is that the
release.
sound you make when you're going to edit something?
ooh.
Speaking of fiscal responsibility, this feels like a very polished, expensive B movie, and I miss the times when that was super regular. Now we've got like a wonderful A24 has made like prestige horror.
What is your definition of polished,
I mean,
Gavin?
I'm trying to picture this cast without what comes after it, and I don't know where this is in most of their careers, but this is a pretty stacked cast. They've got Robert Rodriguez, who I guess hadn't done that much at this point, but he's not on the like come up. And Kevin
he's,
Williamson's like doing,
This is Kevin Williamson at his peak.
Yeah.
Like, this is... Everything was about to crumble for Kevin Williamson.
and this is a Christmas release.
I gotta push back. Robert Rodriguez was pretty hot right now. That's not someone you grab. He's done Desperado. He's done From Dusk Till Dawn. He's homies with Tarantino. He hadn't started making children movies in his backyard that make everyone go, what's going on, Robbie? But he can get great bang for his buck, literally. One of the best directors to ever work on, as far as budget scale goes. Like, what you get for what you give him is frankly suspicious.
Yeah, no, according to Wikipedia, this is only a $15 million budget, which I would have guessed probably closer to 30.
Yeah,
but,
especially back
that's
in
also
film
like
days.
$98,
Yeah. And 1998 CGI and all of that. Yeah, 15's pretty good.
Well, I mean, and with that in mind, like the CGI maybe is one of the things that has not held up as well as a lot of the movie, but like for its time, this is pretty ambitious, it feels like.
Okay. So Robert Rodriguez, maybe we should just start with that. I know that The Faculty was a script that was written way earlier and then got a fast track once Scream was really successful, and Kevin Williamson got brought on to rewrite it, which is why it kind of seems it's very screamy.
Yeah.
Robert Rodriguez, I guess it just was From Dusk Till Dawn a movie that
Yes, I
somehow we
believe
haven't covered. Was that a big hit?
I mean, it was for me. It was
Well,
a big
that's
deal to me.
That's what matters, Gavin.
I mean, I would assume it did okay. Otherwise, like, why would I, as a child, know about it? I'm trying to remember what was actually the first Robert Rodriguez film I saw, and it was probably Desperado.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe
I think
Sin
that's true
City?
for most of us. Yeah, I didn't even watch El Mariachi until last year.
No, I mean, why would you? Well, last
For
year's
film history,
last
for
year's
this
surprising.
podcast,
No,
honestly,
sorry.
we were
Last year's surprising. I thought you were going to say after, but yeah, no. El Mariachi's magic for what it is, but it is what it is too.
Yeah. Which I liked all the call outs to El Mariachi in this. They shot this whole thing illegally across the border in Juarez.
Well, they also
All
shot
of the
this
faculty.
entirely just like with El Mariachi, without recording any dialogue on set, and then they just have the actors do it again afterwards and run the bikes.
Yeah, I was.
They knew it was
shocked
going
by
for the Spanish home video market anyway. So
Well, I mean, that's why they got Usher, because he's so good at lip syncing. He could just,
This was a really surreal experience watching this movie because the ADR all matches, but it's it has to be all ADR because all the performances for any outdoor sequence or the start of the movie especially, it's all so flat. The problem with ADR, if anyone in the audience doesn't know, automated dialogue replacement or additional dialogue recording, we're never really sure what it means, but it's the process of putting dialogue in later. the problem has never been that you can't get it to match, because it matches. The problem is that you cannot replicate those performances. You basically have to have people with like real voiceover training to like get in those headspaces. And like that keeps making the movie feel just fake as shit for me, because so much of this is ADR'd.
Mm-hmm.
And it matches the lips. They did a good technical job. I never noticed it because of the incongruity. It was just like, wow, all these performances are flat and terrible. And I'd like to give the actors some credit.
Yeah, I mean, again, you've got a pretty hip crowd here. I don't know if they're all like known necessarily for being super talented. Like,
yeah, I mean, we got BB Newirth, Piper Laurie, the hippest, Clea DuVall.
well, we've got what's her name, Jordana Brewster from
Yeah,
the Fast and the Furious series. We got Elijah
is
Wood
before.
from Sin City. Yeah, I'm just
Like,
saying.
a lot of long engineers before they got really popular. Salma Hayek's obviously in this, which is the
Right.
only way that I would really be able to clock that it's a Robert Rodriguez movie if I didn't already know. But none of these people, like Famke Janssen before X-Men, although after GoldenEye, a movie that you still need to see. The Terminator's in this.
Yeah, he's
From
great. In
T2.
this. He's fun.
He is good in this.
He's creepy.
I remember Jon Stewart being in this more.
Yeah.
Yeah, although I both have and haven't seen this movie. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
I did not remember Elijah Wood was in this, which,
Mhm.
you know, we talked about this on literally the last episode. We're doing 2 Elijah Wood movies in a row somehow, and neither of them are Lord of the Rings. He was like a child actor who'd been in some big stuff in the
When's
90s.
your Tom and Huck episode?
I don't know. I'm assuming that's a Huckleberry Finn
Yeah,
movie.
you guys don't remember Tom and Huck?
This is the first
No.
time I've heard of Huckleberry Finn referred to in that
Okay,
way.
yeah. That was actually no he wasn't in Tom and Huck. I apologize. He was in just a regular Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, but there was another movie called Tom and Huck that I think was like a modern Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn. We used to like adapt Mark Twain in this country a lot more, especially for kids. Like in the 90s, there were so many goddamn Mark Twain
Are you
adaptations for
saying
kids.
that we should make America Twain again?
Yeah, I mean there was a what was the movie where like the kid from American Pie like goes to medieval times?
Kid in King
That's a
Arthur's
Mark
Court?
Twain adaptation.
Was that like a night in King Arthur's Court? A Connecticut Yankee? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
That was...
Yeah, it was a kid
Yeah.
in King Arthur's Court is how they changed the title.
Well, you're forgetting about the one that your doppelganger was in, Band of Robbers with Kyle Gallner.
Mm.
You didn't
Have
know
we-
that existed.
Have we established that Kyle Gallner is my doppelganger and Josh Hartnett is yours? Is that what we've
Well,
agreed
real
upon?
fans who have listened to every episode will know this.
So, at one point in this podcast, we were talking about how we first maybe saw this movie.
Sure, yeah.
Sage, when do you think you said you maybe have seen this movie?
I know exactly when I saw this movie, and I can't talk about it too much on this podcast, but basically I had rented this movie from Blockbuster Video, and it was in the back of my car, and I took a girl on a hiking date, and then I used the video to turn it into a part 2 of the date, and I remember like 10 to 15% of this movie.
Sure. Okay. Sounds like a good movie watch.
I remember looking over at one point, and Jon Stewart had been stabbed in the eye with a pen, and I thought he was in this movie more than he was. I thought he was the main villain. I even thought he was the guy who did the "please report to the principal office," which I somehow remembered from the end of the film. So, like, not a good memory of this movie. And then somehow I didn't check. Like, it was a movie I was very excited to watch. May have even put it on twice that night.
Fair enough.
And honestly, the main reason I was excited to see it, other than it being like a Robert Rodriguez movie that is one of the few missing from my filmography that was not made for 8-year-olds, was because, as we just alluded to, like, I'd been getting Josh Hartnett comparisons for a lot of my life, but especially in high school and college when he was like really popping, just really, really hot.
And you had the
And there
same
are,
haircut from this movie, right?
I think there are pictures of, like, this is a really bad haircut, but also I've had really bad haircuts in my life. And also, I don't know if we've ever said this on this podcast, but it was the 90s.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, Josh Hartnett did famously cut his own hair for this movie. This is the film that broke Josh Hartnett into the mainstream, and I imagine they touched him up on set, but I believe he
Yeah.
came in with this haircut, is what I've read.
That
Is this
makes
before?
complete sense.
Yeah, it's both the most disgusting haircut ever, but also like he looks
It still works
very
for
hot
him,
in the
but it's a
movie.
terrible haircut. Yeah, it's like, what a handsome man with a terrible haircut.
Yeah, so like that was me in high school.
That's also like I always am fascinated with his fashion and this of just like
Oh, see,
baggy t-shirt over the also baggy long sleeve t-shirt
I mean,
that is too long and going like past his like thumbs.
I'd still dress like
It's
that.
such a look.
I had a brown jacket that I wore through a lot of high school and college, and at one point I found a picture of Josh Hartnett basically wearing the same jacket. Like that's the you can't see it all the time, but there is a 1-2 shot. Maybe I can find this and post it.
You're gonna have to put this up on like the social media page.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
proof.
Yeah, actually, this would be good.
And then it'll swipe over and you can see me looking just like Alfalfa as a kid.
So there's a side by side, and I put up the picture of me for like 6 months, and then I put up the picture of I just switched it to Josh Hartnett for like a year and a half, and only one person ever said anything. That's how close they are. Where were you when you saw?
I mean, this is another one, I've got a bad memory. And I've seen this movie a lot throughout my life. This DVD copy that I do have in my hand, I have probably had since middle school. It's just been in rotation, and for all the same reasons. I liked Robert Rodriguez. I loved Scream. And everyone in this movie is strikingly attractive, and it's fun watching them all like be really bitchy to each other and wonder who's an alien. Because you get like this movie steals so liberally in wonderful ways that we'll talk about later. But I can't wait to mention like the Thing version of instead of boiling blood, we're just going to do a bunch of homemade cocaine.
Could have done Scream Thing would have been another one.
So I'll just say that my first experience with The Faculty is, I think I knew the trailer. The trailer was on like some VHS type I had, but I didn't actually see it until probably college. And I remember really loving it. I thought it was so good, likewise, I love Scream. Like I'm a big fan of Kevin Williamson. Even as like kind of silly as his 90s like overwritten dialogue is, like I still love that shit. But I had not seen either The Invasion of the Body Snatchers or The Thing when I saw The Faculty, so I'm just like, this is the most creative, original concept ever. And then I saw those movies and I'm like, and now when I go back to watch The Faculty, I'm like, okay, it's still fun, but like, my God, is it stealing from everybody?
Yeah,
like, I mean, just like if you took Body Snatchers, The Thing, and like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and like put them in a blender and like set it to pulse, and then like,
honestly, that's what I love about this movie is this is the most. All right, so it's X, but it's in Y, the movie. Like it's like this is The Princess Diaries meets Jaws. This is like this is it's the Breakfast Club meets Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And it's just such a pure version of that. It doesn't try and hide it in any way, shape, or form. Because, at the end of the day, I don't know how to dance around this being the Weinstein era, but like they could just get away with this shit. And they got away with a lot more shit that's terrible, but they could also get away with this shit.
I love that you view this as purity instead of just complete cynicism, because again, this was a script that went around, and then they hired the guy who did Scream to make it more like Scream, and that's why you have the final product.
I think there's something pure about that, despite it being capitalism and all that. Like I don't know how to better explain that, but I think
I believe you.
Well, I think the movie does have a fun angle about like non-conformity. It doesn't totally stick the landing. It's like weirdly kind of contradicts itself, but for most of it, like I like that it's a movie where you prove that you're a human by doing drugs, and I think that's kind of fun. And but then he gets to the end, and then suddenly it does the thing. It does like the Breakfast Club thing, where it's like, okay, well, all like the counterculture people, we're gonna like make them look a little like more handsome and polite. And they're gonna go to school, and they're gonna kind of like get their shit together. Which, really bucks against the whole theme of the movie. Like, honestly, this movie should end with everyone dying and, like, the school burning down. But, it's also...
But instead, it's all fine, and Elijah Wood gets with the head cheerleader. And...
It's great. Everyone's fine. Everyone's alive. Everyone gets to fuck who they want to fuck.
I mean, even Jon Stewart, this is not the first time Robert Rodriguez would do this gag. But yeah, Jon Stewart, after getting stabbed in the eye with a pen, goo coming out, just shows up in the end credits
With an eye
smiling with an eye
patch.
patch. Which, yeah, Robert Rodriguez did that again, like 20 years later with Machete Kills. He just brought back Michelle Rodriguez after she got shot in the head with an eye patch. Spoilers for Machete.
I'm gonna ask. It's very loose as to what happens to you once you're like what happens to your personality once you become consumed by parasites.
I think that's part of the magic here. Is the only the only thing is
it's not a thing I care about. Yeah.
No, and the movie does not care about it either. They're like,
no, why should I?
It makes the mousy teacher dress hot and come on to the drug dealer on campus.
I would like to chime in and make a comment. Just for any fans of the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I just rewatched in its entirety, so it's fresh in my mind. But there's an episode in season 2 that is very much the faculty. It is just like it's also in a high school. Everyone gets like possessed, by these parasites, including like the parents and the staff. And I was curious which came first, and that aired 11 months before the faculty.
Damn.
So I do wonder how much like this is just like the era of teen horror that like we don't really have anymore, or like even though they're like horror movies with teenagers, it doesn't feel like we know who they are. They're not like all on their own big show. I really do miss like 90s mid-budget like glossy teen horror where it's like we're gonna have overly written dialogue, we're gonna have like like, I mean, Gavin as a DP, like I feel like these movies were shot so much different than like the modern horror, where it's like,
well, I think 90s
they could
horror,
just afford so much more.
90s
like, so
horror
much...
is special. I mean, the moonlight in 90s horror is such a time and a place. The backlight. I mean, I was watching. So when I think about this movie, this is my favorite of them, but like I put this between Night of the Creeps and Slither. Which, now Slither, James Gunn's gone on to be the head of the DC Universe and was a Marvel guy for a while, and he's doing very big, great things. But he also got his start doing a small parasite monster movie in just less than a decade after this film, which is also less than a decade after Night of the Creeps, which is all...
I guess that was his first, like, theater film. Let's not denigrate his whole background in trauma.
I mean, that was a big
Poultry
break.
Guy story, sure.
We're going to get emails if you don't.
Okay, my bad. But yeah, there was just... I do feel like this kind of movie was being made regularly, like you said, and it had a big... Like, I loved Buffy. Buffy was great. And yeah, we don't have that same... I think the world's too serious right now. Or do I mention 9/11 one more time?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a fair point. It is like not
Too
as fun
soon.
to just kill like 20 teenagers. Like,
I mean, I guess Columbine.
Columbine really was the 9/11 of the 90s.
Between Scream 2 and Scream 3, it's like, yeah, it was fun to murder all these teenagers. And now it's like, I don't know if we should, or at least, if we're going to do it, it has to be like serious and, it
and
has
this
to be
podcast is taking a pro-murdering teenagers in movies stance.
Yeah.
There's too many teenagers.
No, but only if they have a
movies.
WB or a UPN show, then they can get murdered.
Yeah. People look back so fondly on Mean Girls, and that was also something that just like teenagers were way cattier back then, it feels like. Now we've got, I'm not going to watch 13 Reasons Why, and maybe that's my own fault. Maybe that is a fun laugh a minute that ends in suicide.
Yeah, it's not like you have 80 friends that worked on it.
It was shot at my high school. It's too real.
Can I just chime in to give some more Kevin Williamson context?
Adam, you can
I was
always
literally
time
just
in.
about to ask you.
That's how podcasts work.
Okay, well, it's just Kevin Williamson I find very fascinating because screenwriters in general are not known, let alone like a brand. But Kevin Williamson, he is named on the poster. It's like almost more so than Robert Rodriguez. It's like from the writer of Scream and Scream 2. And this is like the peak of his fame because Scream was just such a colossal like cultural juggernaut, huge hit. And then he also does I Know What You Did Last Summer the next year and
Right.
Scream 2 the next year, which were both also huge hits. And then before The Faculty, he creates Dawson's Creek.
What you do.
I didn't know he created Dawson's Creek.
So yeah, he's got two huge horror franchises and his own show, which is very funny because it is just autobiographical and it is the most like I don't know. I'm not going to get too much into Dawson's Creek, but he kind of created the template of like this is kind of like what we think of as like a TV show version of like a modern teenager. I mean, there were other shows before that, but so much of like the trope of like people in their 30s playing teenagers, and
Yeah.
seemingly having a bigger vocabulary than people in their 40s, even though they're supposed to be like 16. But yeah, the Dawson was also like a huge phenomenon, and really like this is the last end of his like run, because after this he doesn't write Scream 3. He takes the back burner because he wants to direct Teaching Mrs. Tingle, his like big opus about like him murdering his high school English teacher who said he'd never amount to anything. And then that movie's a huge
It was a huge success. We all think about it all the time. It spawned 6 sequels.
Yeah, no, but like literally, Columbine fucked both Scream 3 and Teaching Mrs. Tingle, because it was supposed to be called Killing Mrs. Tingle. They couldn't do that. Suddenly, they had to change a gun to a crossbow, and this like weird dark comedy thing got really sanded down, and no one really talks about it or likes it. And then it's like Scream 3, people hate, he didn't write. And then he spends like 5 years making this movie Cursed with the Weinsteins. That was like literally cursed. The title should have awarded him. Like that movie got reshot so many times. Like Craig Kilborn is a character in the movie Cursed. His show got canceled by the time they finished making the movie, because it was like in development hell and production hell for so long. So like, I mean, he's still like a very wealthy man. He created the Vampire Diaries, other shows, but this is it. This is like his
It's got
golden
residuals
run.
for The Following.
Yeah, and it all kind of comes crashing down right after The Faculty. Even though The Faculty was also like a solid hit. It wasn't like Scream big, but yeah, it made $63 million on a $13 million budget, and I'm sure
he
it
also
probably
decided
did great on
to.
video.
This is important for this episode, that he was going to direct this movie and decided to do Teaching Mrs. Tingle.
Oh, did he also back out? Okay, I don't think I knew that. Yeah.
This was an offer to him.
It is weird that Rodriguez directs this, because aside from Dusk Till Dawn, he does not direct other people's scripts like ever.
Well, this was still.
This is a weird outlier.
I mean, he did it for Williamson and Tarantino. I'd say that's decent pedigree.
This is his 4th movie. I mean, really. It's El Mariachi, Desperado, From Dusk Till Dawn, and then this. There's 4 Rooms, which doesn't super count because that's like an anthology that he shared with a bunch of people. And then right from there, he's into Spy Kids, which I'd forgotten that he did the first 3 Spy Kids movies right after this.
Oh, you think there's... Oh, the first 3. You think there's 3 Spy Kids movies?
Yeah. So, I mean, and this was his 2nd movie with Miramax. I don't mean to like talk about that so much, but anyway.
Controversy noted.
Really gonna make me edit this one.
I mean, I don't.
It's fine, Sage. He can't come for you. He's in prison. What's he gonna do?
Get a presidential pardon.
Oh God. I mean,
but no, you're right. This is kind of up until like Alita Battle Angel. This is like Rodriguez's last normal like Hollywood movie.
Well,
because then he just has a huge run where it's all his like shooting it in his garage, experimenting with
backyards,
green screen and computer effects, and then like Grindhouse.
Some of them very
like
successful,
weird,
most of them not.
But yeah, he doesn't get on like a real set again until.
Well, I mean, Once Upon a Time in Mexico does happen after this, and I don't know. I guess Machete's not a real movie either.
Yeah, at a certain point, he starts making movies out of the fake trailers in Grindhouse movie that he made.
God,
there's 2 Shark Boy and Lava Girl movies.
I did know that.
Actually, I want to do a quick game that I was going to save to the end, but this feels like the right part. The Known For game, right, Gavin? We do this every now and then. It's a thing you're really bad at, but for the audience, this is basically like just trying to guess what fucking algorithm IMDb is using to get their top 4 for an actor or a director or anything else. Can you guess? I would like to take 4 guesses. Do not look it up. And I want to see if you can get more than one of his top 4.
Robert Rodriguez?
Yes. What is Robert Rodriguez known for on IMDb?
I'm going to say Spy Kids. I'm actually going to say Alita Battle Angels. I think that might be on there. And then I'm going to say Dusk Till Dawn and Grindhouse. Not Planet Terror. Grindhouse.
Okay, So you didn't get a single one. It's actually just Hypnotic 4 times. No, so it is El Mariachi, Sin City 2,
Okay.
The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl, and Spy Kids 2.
I knew it was going to
The
be a
Island
Spy
of
Kids
Lost
sequel. I
Dreams.
knew I should have said 2 or 3.
I would not beat yourself up over this one. I think that is just insane from a guy who's got, like, 3 decently big franchises. If they were going for producer, I'm surprised, like, Book of Boba Fett isn't on here or something. I have
forgot
no
that
idea how
he's
the
that guy,
IMDb
yeah.
top 4 works, or like any of the like El Rey stuff that he's produced.
If you have the Sin City Blu-ray, there's a special feature where Robert Rodriguez teaches you how to make breakfast tacos.
Yeah.
Honestly, game changing. I don't really cook that much, but I learned how to make that recipe, and he teaches you how to make like tortillas from scratch, which I did not know how to do. And yeah, it's fantastic. He talks about it like it's a light snack that he'll make with no problem. It will take the entire day and like destroy your whole kitchen, but it's worth it. It's really good.
I want to, let's spend a minute just reminiscing about how cool Robert Rodriguez was back in the days of physical media being more of a thing. Not only did he have his 5-minute cooking schools that he would like put as supplemental,
the 10-minute film schools.
He'd have his,
those are
10-minute film schools, which you can find online. They're all worth watching. He was way ahead of the curve in terms of editing for people with ADD and just making things go super fast. And if you ever want to feel very inspired and extremely angry at a man,
And just insecure.
reading Rebel Without a Crew is a fantastic and wonderful read, which is like his production diaries for making El Mariachi. And you'll never be so like inspired by someone who's just willing to go out there and try shit, but also the amount of lucky breaks that man gets from just shooting in Mexico at a time when it was just the Wild West.
Yeah.
It is infuriating. To imagine just walking up to a prison and being like, "Hey guys, can we shoot in this prison?" And they're like, "Sure. Do you want to borrow some guns?" Come on.
And some prisoners.
So I will say though, this DVD that I have in my hands of The Faculty does not have a 10-minute film school. I felt a little cheap out on when I went into the bonus features and only saw posters of other movies that Robert Rodriguez and Kevin Williams had been a part of. Not even trailers, just the one sheets.
Just a JPEG.
Yeah.
Hey, Gavin,
Hey.
would you like to tell us what The Faculty is about?
Yeah, we haven't talked about the actual movie.
We've talked
And
about
can you
it.
do it as the parasite-ridden version of yourself?
Does that mean that I wear a low-cut top and
Try to fuck Josh Hartnett?
I'll
I'll let you decide. If you're in the movie, you clearly... I like to imagine they gave the script to people just like, it's a parasite version of your character. What would you like to do?
There are no wrong answers here.
There are no wrong answers.
You get 2 takes.
Yeah.
Variety is encouraged. The Faculty is a movie about a high school which has an alien invasion going on, and the press club realizes, they start noticing that the teachers are acting a little weird. Mostly they're drinking a shit ton of water, which, teachers famously dehydrated in general.
You can't do that in the 90s.
As they realize that not only are all the teachers acting weird, they start to notice that like the kids are being called into the nurse's office and coming out different too. And they start uncovering a plot, and then they realize that the only people they can trust are this weird thrown together group of jocks, weirdos, nerds, like these 6 kids who have, been around each other enough to sort of trust each other. One of them is the super senior who's been dealing drugs, condoms, and whatever else you want out of his car on campus. And he's been making his homemade drugs that they find out the aliens can't take by jabbing one of the teachers in the eye when they catch him in a lunch break, and he turns into a goobly mess. At some point, they've also found a weird little bug creature on the football field that is like they've decided is probably the alien. And I know I'm all over the place. I'm doing my best here. They have basically a showdown where they're cornered, and the principal, they shoot her in the head because also this drug dealer has a gun, and she comes back. So like, okay, cool, definitely an alien. Let's shove her full of cocaine. She turns into a blobbering mess, but they realize that she's also not the queen, that they've also just decided based on one of the people is a sci-fi fan, and she reads a lot of Heinlein. And she's like, well, the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers that we're definitely cribbing from is probably, maybe not a documentary, but maybe the aliens have been making movies to make us normalize the idea of alien invasions so that we wouldn't freak out when aliens invaded. And then they're like, well, so how do you beat the aliens? And she's like, well, in the movies, the aliens always win. But yeah, I don't know how they jump to drugs, but they start doing drugs. And they but they're running low on drugs, and they don't know who the queen bee is. And then they realize that it's the transfer student who's been all sweet and sugary. Turns out to be she's transferring from another planet into this school, and
Heyo.
they get chased through locker rooms and such, and then wind up murdering her with, I believe, more drugs. I think it's just drugs, right?
I think drugs,
Yeah, drugs.
saved the day. Yeah.
And
I
drugs.
mean, they also crush a bleacher on her, which that's a
That
fun
was
Well,
thing.
that's just to keep her in place while they make her do drugs
Yeah.
against her will. And drugs save the day, and everyone pretty much is okay, I think. Like, surprisingly little damage done, and yeah, they're all better for it.
Yeah, no, there's two really important lessons here. The first one is that, like, you should just always do drugs to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And then the second is that you really shouldn't trust anyone that's not from your small town.
Well, and especially if they don't do drugs. If someone tries to
Oh,
not
yeah.
do drugs in your presence, they're probably an alien.
Although we should say that the drugs that they do is literally just like caffeine pills.
It's-
Like when they
I
finally
didn't
ask, like,
remember
what are
that
these
at all.
drugs?
He says
And
it's
like, yeah,
caffeine
just
pills
with
and
like some other stuff.
home recipe cooking.
Other household supplies.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if the other stuff is fentanyl? It's just it's just caffeine mostly, a little bit of fentanyl.
I don't think you needed that whole scientific setup.
That scientific
I
setup
feel like
is
I
incredible. That's like the size of an LA studio apartment.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you need a bunch of like tubes and beakers to smash.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
that was
If
one.
you're gonna do a sci-fi lab, you can't just have like, like a small you need Bunsen burners, you need giant beakers, you need the little everything needs to be made of glass.
I love when it's revealed that the head cheerleader is an alien in that moment, and she uses both of her arms to sweep across and shatter all of the beakers like a freaking maniac. It's one of the cheesiest looking moments in this film, which is full of very cheesy moments.
Okay, so I have not watched this movie in a few months, but like I've seen it enough that it's kind of burned in my brain. But the bad guy from Happy Gilmore, he plays Elijah Wood's dad.
Correct.
And he is raiding his room because Elijah Wood's acting weird, and he finds us like a magazine, like an old nudie mag.
Yep.
And I believe it's just called Boobs.
It sure is.
Is that
It's just called
correct?
boobs. Yeah,
It sure is called Boobs.
that's really good. The mom knows
Whoever
that
in the art department made that.
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
Well done.
Rip off the spines of the books. That's where they keep the drugs. And then Elijah Wood's just like, you're destroying government property.
Yeah. I was like, I guess school textbooks are.
Back when there was a Department of Education and there was federal tax dollars, because, Lord knows I bought my own textbooks.
Yeah. By the time this episode comes out next week. All right.
I just want to talk about the characters in this movie because I think, I feel like even Williamson would admit how derivative it is, and he's calling his shots, like in that big monologue you mentioned where like Cleo Duvall and Elijah Wood are like, well, maybe we found the secret. Maybe these movies are trying to tell us something. It's the most bullshit scene in the movie. But tangent on a tangent. I just love the fact in that monologue, Elijah Wood, he's listing like totemic figures in American culture that have brainwashed us. And it's like these people who tell these stories, Spielberg, Lucas, Emmerich. And then he keeps going. And it's just very funny that Roland Emmerich made the cut. Because it was 1998 and Independence Day came out, and so we were like, "Ooh, Roland Emmerich, he's the new Spielberg." And then that always makes me laugh.
Adam,
I get to
to that I have to say, you may want to see us in the simplest terms and the most convenient definitions, But what we found out is that in each one of us, there is a brain and an athlete and a basket case and a princess and a criminal. Does that answer your question? Sincerely yours, The Breakfast Club.
Well done.
All right, I get it now. I still think it's more Scream.
Yeah,
I still
but-
think this movie stops for 5 minutes to figure out the rules of an Invasion of the Body Snatchers movie.
Yeah.
but even if they're like pulling from like normal like types, I think the actors like it's quality dialogue, and also I just think the actors are all like really bringing something to their characters. I mean, it helps when it's like Elijah Wood, and you have a affinity for him. You see him and you're like, oh, I want Elijah Wood to live because he's the little kid from the ice storm. That's what we all know.
That's what we all
thought
think,
in
yes.
the 90s. Yeah, we were just like, that kid from the ice storm, I hope he's okay.
Yeah, but I think like Clea Duvall is really good, like in her like love story with I feel like he didn't do much, but like the curly head guy
I mean,
whose
I do
name I do
feel
not
like-
have.
He went to TV and things we haven't
Oh, I thought
seen.
you meant in the
Yeah.
movie. I'm like, he actually has.
Yeah.
He from the get-go is like, I just feel like life is being given to me for playing football, and I want to prove I'm not a one-dimensional character, which becomes his singular dimension, is searching for dimensions. But
Yeah.
he's
But I think there's stuff there, and I think that's what keeps the movie working. Even if it's like it's playing with stories we know already, and some of the effects have not held up. Like I don't know, I always think about Roger Ebert's review of Scream 2, where he was talking about how like he didn't really love the first Scream, but he really liked Scream 2
that's weird.
because he was like the last one, was just like it was like lining up these ducks in a row and then picking them off like one by one, and this time I got to know the ducks and I liked the ducks. And I always think about that. I kind of disagree with him. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm like, Scream's better than Scream 2, but like
I get his reasoning. I think he's wrong, but
I feel like he should just go rewatch Scream
Yeah,
if
that
he wants to
sounds-
spend more time with those people.
yeah, definitely. But I think that's what aside from, the newness of Kevin Williamson, I think he is actually good at just making you like these characters and keep track of them and their arcs. They're not like the most complex characters in the world,
no.
but
not
when you
most.
compare like Scream or The Faculty to other slashers of that ilk, like the other knockoffs, like God, if you've ever seen Urban Legend, it's like the worst like wishes it was Scream movie from that era with like Tara Reid. It's so bad.
Oof.
And in those movies, they're just trying to be edgy and hip, but they don't make you like anyone. They don't like make you root for anyone's story. And I think the movie Faculty, toes a good line of being a little winky and self-aware, but also just doing the work.
Yeah, I mean, I
So
think
I like
you're-
that, and this also helps when it's Josh Hartnett.
I mean, I think you're even
Always helps.
just to reiterate, like on top of whether or not the characters are defined or three-dimensional, it is that dialogue that is like, this is a very catty bunch of brats in a school, and that includes the faculty. They are very fun to listen to be weird and mean to each other. No one in this movie is nice. There's not a single nice person in this movie except for the alien. And even her
I could have
argument.
spent a lot more time in that faculty lounge.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah,
moment.
Yeah, we haven't really talked much about the faculty, but I think the faculty. Did you guys have any coaches who were like Robert Patrick in this movie?
Yes,
I
all
can't
of
say I
our
did.
football coaches
That
have-
would just stand in sprinklers, just like in the middle of the field.
Yeah, and then their face goes all translucent and the worms start crawling out of their skin.
Yeah.
All the time.
replace that with snow. But yes,
The one thing that I'd say, like, I would have loved to see a little bit more of is they have their early onset, like, whenever it opens up with the coach being approached by a figure that you do not see, and then it cuts out. And I think it
Mhm.
does that one more time because the principal then gets attacked violently by the coach and another teacher.
Mhm.
And it takes a while for us to see some real gore in this movie. Like, it's up until maybe the shower sequence when the old woman is falling apart on top of the former football captain.
yeah, some real shining.
And that gets real goopy,
shining
real
energy.
creepy, which that dude handles that. I'll take it back on everyone being catty and mean. That guy's a treasure. He's a sweetheart of a man who's just,
Yeah.
he's the only,
He's the nicest of
by
them.
far. Even Elijah Wood, who would take his meekness as niceness, but he's not actually a nice
Mhm.
person in this movie.
Why? Okay.
I mean,
I don't really understand that take.
I mean, the first thing we see him say is like, you can be kind of cool when you're not being an absolute bitch. Is like the first thing.
Yeah, but that
I mean, she is
character
being
is
a
an
bitch,
absolute bitch. I don't even want Elijah Wood to get with her at the end. I'm like, she kind of sucks. She kind of tells her, her boyfriend is thinking about leaving football. And she's like, well, why would I date you then? Like, Jordana Brewster sucks in this, both
for
before
sure.
and after. Like, that's shitty.
Yeah. Oh, also, this is the second Kevin Williamson thing where there's like a love story between a high school boy and his older teacher, because that's
Yes.
the pilot of Dawson's Creek. Also in this,
Do we
Josh Hartnett's in love with Famke Jensen.
do we think Josh Hartnett and Famke Janssen get together after this?
I think so.
He is definitely 18 because
19,
he's
probably.
repeating his senior year, 19.
Yeah. Joshua Jackson in Dawson's Creek is not, and he still fucks his teacher. Sage, you would
Interesting.
hate Dawson's Creek, but I want you to watch all of it.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I want you just to see the scene from the pilot where Dawson, who is just Kevin Williamson's self-insert character, shows his Spielberg shrine to four-time Academy nominee Michelle Williams. Sorry, I think 5-time now. I think she got a 5th. He shows off like all of his posters for Spielberg, and he's like, you can understand all life's problems through Spielberg. And then he opens his closet, and that's where he keeps his poster for the movie Always. He just keeps it hidden. I think he also keeps the color purple hidden in there, if I remember correctly, which is a little problematic. But also maybe that didn't happen. I just made that up in my head. But he literally does have a poster for Always in his closet in the pilot of that show. It's absolutely insane. There's an episode in the first season of Dawson's Creek, which like almost every episode was like written by, it was a real like Taylor Sheridan, where like, I make movies, how do you make a TV show kind of thing. I guess I do all of them. So the first season of Dawson's Creek is insane, and one episode is just them doing Scream while acknowledging that Scream exists in the world, and this is not a show where anyone gets murdered. It's
How do you do a Scream if no one gets murdered?
No one gets drowned in the creek?
actually well, that's in season 2, but like, so one character does fall in the creek, and I watched that episode on acid, and it gave me like a genuine existential crisis.
Oh, no.
Does Jesse Plemons show up to stalk anyone?
I don't think he was alive yet. Well, I guess he would have been like 12. He would have been like my age.
So he could be fucking a teacher in Dawson's Creek.
He could be, yeah.
What was?
I didn't start the Dawson's Creek talk, Kevin.
Okay, it's relevant. It's okay. This was airing at the same time. This is why.
No
this
one said it
acronym got
wasn't
made the way it
relevant.
did.
No one's attacking you, Adam.
Yeah. Oh, also, when I was listening his run, I forgot one other thing. He did an uncredited polish on, which was Halloween H2O.
Oh, that
also with Josh Hartnett.
Sure does.
Also, like Miramax Dimension Films, like the next year or this year. So yeah,
that is my.
Kevin Williamson was on top of the world.
Entire generation of horror movies are like, oh, just fuck it, get the guy who did Scream. Let's just keep doing
hate
this.
It. Maybe that's what's missing from modern cinema.
Yeah, no, it's just that
Kevin
meme
Williamson?
where it's like, I pull up your phone and it's just one number. It's like the Weinstein Company trying to make a horror movie in the 90s. Who do we call it? Oh, our button is just Kevin Williamson.
Well, what are your guys' favorite characters and moments before we move on to grade this movie?
Obviously, I see a lot of myself in Josh Hartnett. My favorite scene by far is Josh Hartnett and Famke Janssen towards the end, where the hot teacher's like in the car licking him with her parasite tongue, and then does the most thing homage in the movie, where the head just like sprouts little tentacles and like scurries away.
You forget when he drives his car into a bus, and then they both explode.
Yes. Everything explodes. Josh Hartnett says, fuck this, and runs away.
Yeah.
I would like to point out that is a problem that I have with the movie, is that characters just keep disappearing without even dying, and it doesn't feel like they're done from the movie. Jordana Brewster gets outed, and she runs away where one of the teachers is in a student driver car, and then she's just gone from the movie until the end. The same thing happens with the footballer.
Yeah.
Has a great sequence where he just dumps out the drugs
Refuses
and is
to do
creepy,
it, yeah.
but then he's gone from the
He
movie.
literally runs away
Elijah
from
Wood's
the scene.
dad gone from the movie. And it's like, it's just really weird. And I am thinking during the end, like, where the fuck are all these people expecting them to come back?
I think they
It's almost weird that they do come back afterwards when everyone starts getting together at the end. Elijah Woods with Hot Girl,
Yeah.
Clea Duvall's with a footballer, and I'm just like, I thought the movie was actually set up that Elijah Wood and Clea Duvall were going to get together because of how like intimate that moment was at the end. And I don't need that, but it's weird to just, I don't know. I think the end's sloppy despite how like narratively sloppy, but also there's a giant tentacle monster that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. My favorite is when they are doing the Thing ripoff and they are doing the drugs for the first time, and it's so much aggressive peer pressure and gun pointing mixed with laughter and high stakes. And
well, they're all tweaking.
And then you just, I think, so I remember this movie vividly. It's just one that just lives in my head. It's one that when I watch it, every part of it is already back in my skull. I could probably stop it after the opening credits and feel like I've already seen the movie again. I was watching it with someone who'd seen it and had forgotten all the twists and turns. And so they actually didn't know who the Queen Bad was. I wish I could go back to that. This must have been so fun to just like not know at all what was going on. But that scene also was the only time that I'd forgotten that the Jordana Brewster character was already infected. Yeah. And it's a great way of taking off the pressure on the actual monster hiding that they're doing the drugs, because I forgot how they did that. But that's just a very fun sequence. It ends super silly. And like you're saying, it's one of the first times that we just see someone run away at the end of the scene to end the scene. Which, it's goofy. It's fun.
I really enjoy the moment, and it's one of the big trailer shots. But the bit where Jon Stewart is like freaking out, he's getting possessed, and then Josh Hartnett takes like the handle of like the big industrial paper slicer and just rips it off and uses it like a sword.
Yeah,
very cool, very badass. Like if I was like a young actor, I would be so thrilled to get to do something that rad.
The little detail of when he rips it off, like the screws that are hiding it together, like fly off in slow motion. And then we get to see the fingers drop and run away because they're each individual slug monsters after he cuts off his hand.
Say what you will about Rodriguez. He's a guy who knows when to go to slow motion. Like he knows when to ramp to, 48.
No,
there's my favorite shot in the movie is just like at the football game where Robert Patrick kind of like turns around and smiles as the fireworks are going off in the back, and it's a slow motion,
it's cool
dolly in shot. It is great, and it's so perfectly timed. And I wonder how many times they did it, because like how many times could they do it?
I'm also really impressed. There's a shot towards the end where the villain, she's like naked, which love that, 2 thumbs up. But she's in the pool,
very
and
Jennifer's body.
This is a very Jennifer's Body movie. This would make a good double feature of that.
Never
but
seen.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, there's like she's naked, but her shadow is like the monster all across like the pool, and then she dives into the water, and in one shot, like perfectly morphs like into like the big practical creature. And I just don't know how they did that. Like in '98, like now it'd be easier to do, but like there's just a really seamless effect.
I don't think it's practical.
In the next scene, she's walking around, and there's the tentacle shadows while she's in the human
when
form.
She's in the locker room.
Yeah.
Those effects work, and there's some very cool ideas, like you're saying with that. Another favorite of mine is when we're first seeing Jon Stewart working with like the living piece of tissue that he drops in his aquarium that they just have empty in the science room for some reason.
Yeah. I don't know. Everyone is way too calm about discovering a new species. Not a thing that happens often.
No.
Even despite what they say, it's like, it happens. I'm like, oh, it replicates in water. I'm just like, everyone should be so freaked out at this point.
He also should not be jumping to, you found a new species after 5 minutes of not even looking it up.
Yeah. Lock down the school immediately.
But that scene ends with, what's her name? Clea
Duvall
putting her hand up to the glass, and like the little wiry sinews come out and take the form of the hand. That's so cool. It's so cool. It's like the perfect amount of freaky and like foreshadowing, and like very clearly reiterates like, yeah, this is a parasite. It's going to take the shape of the human bodies. In case you haven't picked up on it yet, we're halfway through this invasion movie. Come on, guys, catch up. It's great. I love it.
You did just make me realize it makes absolutely no sense that a parasite also grows teeth and bites Jon Stewart's finger. Like, it's a parasite. It survives by like inserting itself. If you have teeth, you don't need to be a parasite. You can just chomp your way to I don't know. This is a movie like written by like two other guys who on the it's really sad. You go to Wikipedia and it's like written by Kevin Williamson, story by
Yeah.
two people who you cannot click on their names, which tells
Yeah.
you that this was their only sale or whatever.
They wrote this in 1990. Kevin Williamson rewrote it, got the credit.
Yeah. But it is a little sad that the people who came up with this probably thought their career was going to go somewhere and that it really didn't. But yeah, the movie feels like someone coming in and polishing another script, and so there's elements of it that feel very kind of janky because it's not like coming from like one big organic place. It's just it's Kevin Williamson having fun, thinking of fun sequences to patch an idea that was someone else's that is like, oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
I think this movie has a real ceiling of like 3.5 out of 5, but it's like a fun 3.5 out of 5. Like it's
we have a whole review.
Yeah, that's not how we review things here. It's also very funny that to me, the stars only matter in as how much I'm watching the film or getting something out of it. So to me, I'd go higher than 3.5 is all I'm saying. But again, is it time? Is it time?
Yeah, I think it's time.
All right. Well, Sage, do you want to talk us through the rubric?
Yeah. So we have a patented and unchanging and unflinching 3-tier system. Is the movie The Faculty still good? Is it better as a memory? Or do we try to fuck Josh Hartnett in a car?
Wow.
What was that, Gavin? Yeah, I think you had a
good.
better one.
Make it do drugs at gunpoint.
Yes.
I'll go first because I already alluded to it earlier by saying that 3.5 stars isn't nearly enough stars for this movie. This movie's still good. It's a very good time. I don't know what more you want from it. I feel like, it's a fun,
We'll get
dumb
back to that.
movie. It's just a good time with some awful people weathering an alien invasion and being silly. And this is exactly my brand of, because I don't know if this is advertised as a horror comedy. I don't think it was. I think it's kind of before horror comedy was. And I mean, I think it still is a difficult way to market a film, is to call something a horror movie and have it be funny.
From the guy who brought you Scream.
Well, and I don't know if, I think Scream was a lightning in a bottle exception for its time for being a horror comedy that was that type of horror comedy and smart. You have like Return of the Living Dead as a cult classic, but I'm trying to think of like other ones. It's always been a tough way to market it because horror fans, as loving and accepting as they can be, they will turn on something if it's not scary enough. I feel like you can't be on the funnier side of a horror movie and keep the horror fan base super easily.
Army of Darkness.
And you might not be able to catch mainstream audiences because horror can be a niche experience and doesn't always have the crossover power if you aren't settling it with the horror fans immediately. That being said, this movie obviously did very well. I think it succeeded on all that, and it's just a very good time. Still good. Sage.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think this movie needed a much better script. I think the few things that I brought, it is so much fun. I'm not going to deny that. But it is also aping movies that I consider much better. And I haven't seen like a lot of things in the invasion pantheon, but like even just between, like, Scream is a better version of this. The Thing is a better version of this. And yeah, it can exist as its own as an old amalgam, but I think what really bothers me, we touch on a lot of episodes about like the concept of like what elevates a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is always like, what is going on and how is it a metaphor for like the characters' experiences? And I think this movie almost gets to that. There's a version of this movie that really focuses on the fact that high schoolers are making it up as they go along, and they're pretending to be people that they're not.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Parasite is doing, is it's making people pretend to be people that they're not. It's taking them over. There's a whole conformity aspect. And as fun as it is that, like, oh, the teachers are getting taken over, the movie's better when it is the students, when it is their friends, the people they trust getting taken over. And I just think there is a noticeably better version of this movie buried in the movie that we actually got, which is, it's not a cursed level of like scripts malfeasance, but like that's what happens when you make a script that's this compromised from authorship. So I'm giving it better as a memory, even though my memory of this movie was pretty good.
I mean, that's okay. That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Adam.
I think I'm gonna like split
Nope,
the
you
middle,
can't. You can't.
in
Not
a way
allowed.
that
That's what 3.5 out of 5 is. Yeah.
no, but it really, I think it's a flip of a coin depending on your mood.
Mhm.
Like if you're a little grumpy and you want to be a little more critical and objective about it, this movie is not great. Like this movie is very, and yeah, you look at Williamson's filmography at the time and it's like, yeah, he was cranking shit out fast. This movie, I think, shows that it's someone like probably only got like enough time to do like one draft of it, or like two drafts.
It is funny, just to pause for a second, like thinking about the way that Miramax pumped out movies, it felt like, and Kevin Williamson pumped out movies like that, and then you get Cursed that took 3 years.
Yeah, no, like Scream 2 came out 9 months after the first Scream. Like it's like
Wow. It's
yeah, no, it's
literally
insane
Scream's
how
baby.
fast they were going. Yeah, so I think this movie, it's a little half-assed, it's a little inconsistent, its message is a little muddled, it's not always as clever as I would like it to be. Not all of the effects are like, yeah, it's you get like some great effects like we talked about, but then you get like Famke Jensen's like Adobe Photoshop floating CG head, and it looks like an effect that I could do right now in After Effects. Like. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, but I think if you're in the movie's vibe and you're just having fun with these teenagers and, the kind of pithy nature, like this would be a great movie to see at like a midnight screening at the New Beverly.
Absolutely.
Oh, hell yeah.
If you're with your friends and it's October and you just want to like have a few beers and like put on a fun,
Snort some caffeine.
it's great. Yeah. So I think this is like, it depends on your mood, but I would lean towards still good while acknowledging its problems. I mean, I have a framed poster of this movie. I can't say it sucks because then I need to get rid of that poster that I've been making my roommates look at every single day for the past like 3 years.
God forbid you do something as altruistic as that.
I actually...
Yeah, well, I could swap it. I have a poster of the movie Strange Days, but that poster is just Ray Fiennes in like a haunting close-up, just like staring into your soul. And so if I swap that poster out, I think my roommates would riot. I do also have an Alita Battle Angel poster, so I have 2.
Rodriguez's finest.
But that was just because I worked at a movie theater when that came
I actually
out.
had
I have a lot of movies from like 2018.
I had a buddy who rented out the Roxy to show I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I think is a much worse movie than this.
Yeah, it's not as good as this. Similarly, I think you can enjoy it.
But it's still
you know.
just, it's such a good time to be in a movie theater with Kevin Williamson's story structure and dialogue. It's the perfect place to watch this type of movie. And
they don't make movies like this anymore.
no, they should.
But yeah, this kind of like a horror movie that I think was meant for like a really mainstream audience. Like now I think horror movies are like made just for hardcore horror fans, or they're made for like the art house crowd. This is like an era where it's like, we're making this movie for like moms at multiplex, teenagers, like whoever just walks in, people who don't like horror movies, people who just want to see like a hunky guy with a really bad haircut.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like that
I
about
think
the movie.
I think Blumhouse needs to find someone who's more comfortable mixing in comedy with their lower budget brand, and we'd get more movies like this. And I think it totally should exist within our current scape of entertainment very easily. It just needs to find a company that, like a distribution company, that's going to put it in a theater rather than just on streaming, where I'm sure these are winding up on Shudder, but like they're not getting promoted in the way that they're getting to at least my knowledge or awareness. It sounds like we're a little bit of a mixed bag. It sounds like we do kind of recommend going and Peep the Faculty. Is there any other movies that you guys would want to shout out people go see maybe in this genre or space?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one for me that we didn't talk about enough was The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Thing's great.
It's a great movie.
The Thing, Scream. I've missed a lot of invasion movies. I didn't realize just how populous this subgenre is. Gavin, do you have any of those?
Yeah, I mean,
out?
you mentioned John Carpenter. I think there's some other like great directors who've thrown their hands into this too. Like obviously, I'd be remiss to not mention that my dad has brought up the Invasion of the Body Snatchers remake in the 70s multiple times. One of my personal favorite, really weird ones, which please don't judge me fully on this recommendation, but David Cronenberg made a very early, kind of somewhere between a zombie, parasite, invasion, BDSM, sex horror comedy called Shivers, which takes place in a high rise in Canada that is being overrun by sex parasitic zombies, spreading through STDs, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned earlier, but Night of the Creeps and Shivers are both very in line with this, and arguably a little bit more tonally solid throughout for me, both of them. But it's just a good time. It's a rich genre.
I'll also shout out the Glee episode of Community.
Yeah, that's a good pull. Gavin, I was gonna also say the 70s Body Snatchers. That was like, that's that tweet of like guy who's only ever seen the Boss Baby seeing any other movie. Getting a lot of Boss Baby vibes from this one. That was me, like when I finally watched the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I was like getting a lot of the Faculty vibes from this. But it, like, that one is I think a better constructed movie. Yeah. Like truly chilling. There's one shot in that movie that involves a dog that like terrified me. I was high off my ass when I watched it, and like I almost woke up my girlfriend to be like, what is happening? What did I just witness?
But then you weren't sure if it was your girlfriend, and you're like, I don't know, when like we've been in separate rooms before. Maybe it's not her. Where's her pod?
Yeah, could have been a girl
I
pod.
just reached for her, and there's just like a tentacle coming out of her spine, Another good pairing for this movie, The Faculty, is the dumbest title a horror movie's ever had, Halloween H2O 20 years later, which I'm just looking up now. It was the same year. So,
oh, wow.
Also 98, also Dimension Films, directed by Steve Miner, who directed a lot of Dawson's Creek, starring Michelle Williams from Dawson's Creek, and our boy Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, good year for the Hartnett.
That movie, I think, is kind of trash, but also very fun. And it is like 67 minutes long. It is the shortest Halloween movie by far. Yeah. You watch it, it is so brief. But I think it's one of the better ones. Like, I think it's a lot better than any of the Blumhouse reboots of Halloween, because it's not trying to do the gritty version of like what's up with Laurie Strode. It just treats Laurie Strode like an actual human being.
Down the line, I've never been a huge Halloween fan, but H2O is one that was, again, it's just fun enough and very much in this tone that I really do enjoy it. I would love to someone should come on and try and pitch us on Halloween, because I know it's not your favorite series either, Sage, unless I'm mistaken.
I've only seen the first Halloween, and I like it.
Oh, okay. Adam, you got anything that you want to plug or shout out aside from Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Or should we just copy from the podcast you were on last month?
No, I actually got a couple things to plug. So yeah, friend of mine, I AD'd a short film of his. It's called Chicken Boy. It just played at Slam Dance. So I believe maybe you can watch it if you have the Slam Dance channel. It is a super gross, funny, like 8-minute horror short film about a guy who accidentally spawns a weird human chicken hybrid. And probably not supposed to say it, but I don't think my friend's gonna listen to this, so I can just say we're working on like a feature adaptation. So I've been developing that with him, and it's very fucked up and weird and absolutely gonzo. And I don't know if anyone will ever want to make it, but I hope someone will make it because it's insane.
I want to make it. It sounds great.
I want Kevin Williamson to rewrite it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I think there's too much like weird animal fucking in it for Kevin Williamson, but
or not enough.
So yeah.
Can we change the animals to
Chicken
teachers?
Boy. Yeah. Yeah. And then also I have a feature called Uphill that premiered at the Anchorage Film Festival, and I'm trying to show it at a bunch of other film festivals. So yeah, you can see me at Adam Wright Good, and yeah, if we're playing anywhere else near you, I'll probably be posting about it. So yeah.
And Gavin, you've had some stuff that's just premiered or is out in
we've
out in the open now, right?
Got this short film out for delivery, directed by Chelsea Christer, that's making the rounds. Playing in Calgary, if you happen to be in Calgary. It's heading to Slow Film Fest, which is a very cool festival in Slow, believe it or not. And go look them up on Instagram, Out for Delivery, I think. And you can find me at Gavin V. Murray on most things.
Well, I continue to have nothing to plug as I navigate a bizarre and changing film industry in California. But I'll be out in Africa next week. If you want to come hang out in a very parasocial way over on Instagram, I'm at @HoldForPlane. And you can find us in past episodes of our podcast right here, wherever you're listening to it, at StillGoodPod on Instagram. And send us an email, why not, at stillgoodpod@gmail.com. And if you like this, I do recommend going back to our Cursed episode, which we alluded to, another Calvin Williamson mess, which we recently re-released and remastered. Thank you so much, Adam Boyer, for stopping by our Pod People cast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And also, join us. Join us. Join us. I'm doing a body snatcher thing.
Okay, the faculty needed one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. I don't have a camera, but I'm doing the thing Donald Sutherland does at the end of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where I just stand and point, and my mouth is wide open, and it's chilling.
Yeah.
You're chilled. All right, I'm muting myself.
All
Okay. All right. Bye.
Gavin, do you think that England has bailed us out of every major war in the last 100 years? What do you think?
I think England's gotten us into every major war, and I think none of it's America's fault.
Wow. Hear that, Korea?
I wasn't expecting this much geopolitical talk on the faculty episode.